Good afternoon. The record should reflect that we are on the record with the defendant present and the attorneys. State your appearances, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. Jeff Burns for the people.
Margaret Park for the defendant.
All right. Are you ready to call your next witness?
Yes, Your Honor, I am.
Let's proceed.
Your Honor, the people call June Brown.
Please state your name and spell it for the record.
I am June Brown, B-R-O-W-N.
Thank you.
Ms. Brown, I just have several questions for you. When I am finished, then defense counsel will probably have some as well. Let us know if you don't understand any of our questions.
All right.
Where are you currently employed?
Right now, I work at Smith Plumbing.
What do you do for them?
I work in the office and I am responsible for the billing, filing, answering phones, and duties like that.
How long have you worked there?
I have been there for approximately 8 years now.
Have you always held the same position since you were hired?
Pretty much. Actually, when I started working, I wasn't doing the banking right away. I didn't begin doing that until 5 years ago.
What duties do you have with the banking?
When the mail comes and there are payments, then I record them and prepare them for the deposits.
Are you the one who takes the deposits to the bank?
Usually. I mean, sometimes the owner will do that, but I have authority for the banking too.
Your Honor, I would like to mark as an exhibit the signature card. I am not sure what my next exhibit is.
That will be People's Exhibit 10 for identification.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I have an objection as no foundation.
Counsel is just marking it at this time. It is not in evidence yet.
I understand. I don't believe the foundation can be properly laid with this witness.
Let's just have the next question and see where it goes.
Ma'am, do you recognize this exhibit as something that you prepared or that you created?
Yes, I do.
What does this exhibit represent?
It is the signature card the bank has you fill out, so you can have access to the account.
Whose signature is on there?
Objection, no foundation.
Sustained as to the form of the question.
Did you sign this card?
Yes, I did. This is my signature right here.
The document has 2 sections with handwriting in both. Did you fill out anything in the top section of the exhibit?
No, the bank teller did that.
Were you physically present when that was prepared?
No.
Objection, motion to strike.
Sustained.
How do you know who created this document if you weren't present?
Fred Dunlap told me I just needed to authorize it and that the bank really needed it.
Let's clarify something. Where did you sign this application?
It was in the office.
Were you present at the bank building or?
No, it was at Smith Plumbing in the offices. Fred notified me I needed to authorize it.
Who is Fred?
He is the accountant that prepares the taxes and filings for the business. He comes in every now and then and gets papers ready for filing and stuff with the government.
So Fred isn't the legal owner of the business?
No, he isn't. Bob Smith is the only owner of the business.
Does Bob work in the office with you?
Occasionally, but he is a plumber and he is usually in the field. Fred comes by every couple months and prepares work in the offices.
When you initially saw this document, what handwriting was already on the card?
All the top portion was filled out. It also was signed or initialed by Bob at the bottom.
Are you familiar with Mr. Smith's signature?
Yes, I am.
Let me ask you about what the policy is for signing checks at the business. When you receive a bill, what is your procedure?
Objection, vague.
Sustained.
Could you please explain briefly what happens when you receive an invoice in the mail?
Sure. I open the mail every day and I just separate the bills and any payments that come in. There is always junk mail and I just throw that away.
When you talk about payments, are you speaking about money that your clients are sending to you?
Correct. We have statements that go out to customers and they send us checks. When those are received, I merely record that they have paid their charges. I will then get it ready for deposit in the bank.
What kind of clients are you talking about?
We have many.
People will be calling a plumber in emergency situations, correct?
That's correct, that happens.
Does that happen very often?
Yes.
Somebody engages your service and they pay when work is completed?
Yes, that happens. We have workers who deliver checks, and we also have payment that comes in from the mail. People can mail in the payment if they are regular customers. Plus, we also have several contract projects that we service.
What type of contract work do you perform?
We have many plumbers who are on call for some businesses or project sites. We will routinely bill them monthly, and they send it in their payment.
Is that billing something that you take care of?
It definitely is. I process them somewhere around the end of the month. They become due and payable by the 10th of each month.
Your Honor, I would request to mark as an exhibit a photocopy of a billing statement printed on the letterhead of Smith Plumbing.
Okay, that's next in order as 11.
Your Honor, may we approach Sidebar?
Are you lodging an objection?
I just needed to address an issue and didn't want to do it in the presence of the jury.
Okay, that's fine. You may approach Sidebar.
Your Honor, I don't want to delay the proceedings, but I just wanted to clear up something before we get too far into these exhibits.
What's the problem?
Are you planning on calling Bob Smith as a witness? Because I believe he is the individual who should be laying the foundation for these exhibits and not June.
Counsel, if you have an objection, you need to state it for the record so I can rule on it.
I don't really have an objection. I just believe that there is a better witness to lay the foundation for these exhibits.
Counsel, since you don't have an objection, there is no necessity to be Sidebar. Let's just proceed with the witness.
I am sorry, Your Honor. I just wanted to inquire about the offer of proof that was given previously.
I represented to her that I would be calling Bob and June, and I don't think I should be limited in the manner I present my evidence.
Okay, I understand. Let's just proceed with the witness at this time.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Next question, please.
Ma'am, let me ask you about this exhibit that we just marked. Do you recognize that document?
Yes, I do.
Did you prepare that statement?
Yes, that's correct. My initials are at the very bottom here.
Can you explain to us why this particular statement would be prepared?
Okay, it's the monthly billing statement for the period of June 1998. It reflects the service calls that were made that month and the amounts due.
Now, once you receive the payment for a billing statement and you have recorded it as paid, you prepare it for deposit, and what is the next step?
I deliver them to the bank and deposit them.
How often do you do the banking?
Obviously, there is really no set schedule. It is not like I go weekly or anything like that. I only go when I have a deposit to make.
Are there ever certain situations where you are holding checks, waiting to receive more money prior to traveling to the bank?
I suppose you could say that. When the statements go out and the payments are made, we will receive the majority of them the first week of the month. I may wait until the end of that week to deposit them. I'm not going every single day.
When a plumber goes out on a call to a residence and they return back with a payment for services performed, what happens to that paperwork?
The plumber has already completed a work order, and they simply attach the payment to our copy of the work order. I then handle it from there.
What duties do you perform in handling it?
I basically record the payment, and I file the office copy of the work order in our files.
Excuse me, if you could pull the microphone a little closer to you. Your voice trails off sometimes, and we all need to be able to hear your testimony.
I'm sorry. Is that better?
That's perfect. Just try to keep your voice up and speak clearly into the microphone so all the jurors can hear you.
Okay, absolutely.
Ma'am, when the monthly invoices are received for your business, like the electric bill, telephone bill, and items like that, are you responsible for paying those invoices?
I prepare them for payment. When I open the mail, I separate out the bills and set them aside for Bob to review later. He will return them back to me and tell me that they are okay for payment. I will then process the checks for immediate payment.
Do you actually fill out the checks and mail them yourself?
Correct, I write out the checks. Thereafter, I give them back to Bob for signature and I eventually mail them. Although sometimes if he is out of town or not around, I will simply initial them and mail them if he has authorized that they are okay for payment.
Are there any other occasions wherein you process checks for the business, or I should say, where you sign checks for business operations?
Not that I can think of. Sometimes if a driver purchases something that they need reimbursement for, then I will issue payment to them for that. That's really about it though.
What would be an example of that?
Objection, irrelevant.
Overruled. You can answer the question.
Sometimes a driver will have to fill up the truck with gasoline or maybe have to purchase a part and I will just pay them back for that.
Is that something that happens regularly?
Not really. Most of the drivers have credit cards for that, but sometimes they will forget them at home or something and they have to pay. Bob then will want them to get their money repaid.
Thank you. Nothing further of this witness.
Counsel, any cross-examination?
Yes, I have a couple questions, Your Honor.
Proceed.
Ms. Brown, let me begin with something that you just were talking about. You testified that sometimes the plumbers are required to go purchase parts and pay for them. Is that basically what you're saying?
If they are working on a project and they need something that they don't have on board the truck, sometimes they will need to purchase what they require at a store and then bring the receipt in, so I will repay them.
What kind of purchases are we actually talking about?
Nothing big. They usually have whatever they need for assignments on the trucks. But sometimes if it is something inexpensive and they just need it to complete the project, they will go purchase it.
Where would they go to obtain whatever parts they need?
It possibly could be Home Depot or any plumbing supply place.
Do they have to get permission from anybody first before purchasing those parts on their own?
No.
Is that something that is left up to the plumber to make that decision?
I don't really know how that works. I just know that if they have a valid receipt, then I am to reimburse them.
Has Bob Smith ever given you any instructions in regard to that procedure?
Not really. He is usually the one who gives me the receipts, and then I just write the checks and distribute them to the workers.
How much money are we talking about?
Objection, irrelevant.
Overruled. You may answer.
You mean each receipt, or what are you asking?
I suppose my objection should be it is vague.
Sustained.
Let me rephrase it. Can you think of an example of when you recently issued a check for payment of a receipt?
Absolutely. I did one last Thursday.
How much money was that receipt?
If I remember correctly, I wrote the check for $15. It was in payment for something on a call at one of our monthly clients.
Now, in that situation, would that charge of $15 be on the billing statement for the following month as an expense or a charge against that client?
Not on our monthly clients, no. We only bill them a flat rate for monthly service.
What if you have to replace parts or complete repairs? Is that all included in the monthly contract?
Only regular maintenance is included, yes ma'am. If there are major repairs or any new projects, then I don't know how that's figured out exactly.
Well, don't you prepare the monthly billing statements that are mailed?
Yes, that's correct.
How are you able to calculate what's on the monthly statements?
Bob explains the amount to bill the client, and that's what I bill them.
Does he instruct you every month what the amount should be for every client?
He just tells me if it is something other than the normal amount that I typically bill.
How do you typically calculate what the normal amount should be?
It is taken from the contract the client negotiated with Smith Plumbing.
Were you involved in the preparation of those contracts?
No.
Then how do you know the amount?
I only bill what I am instructed to bill, but it is not like he has to tell me every month what the amount is. I know that it is the same, unless he gives me something different.
Now, I wanted to inquire about this bank signature card that you filled out.
Objection. Misstates the evidence.
Sustained.
Exhibit 10 is a document that you signed. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you remember when you signed this card?
No.
You don't remember signing it. Is that correct?
Objection. Misstates the evidence.
Okay. You can restate your question.
Your Honor, the exhibit is dated, so that would be the best evidence of when it was signed.
Let's just have the next question, please.
You remember signing the card, but you just don't remember the date. Is that correct?
Yes, I know that's my signature, and I signed it, and I kind of remember doing it, but I don't recall what day it was.
Did you have any discussion with Bob Smith prior to your signing this particular document?
Objection. Vague as to time.
Overruled. You may answer.
I speak to him constantly.
Did he ever talk to you about having your signature on this card for the bank?
Yes.
Okay, what was that conversation?
Hearsay.
Sustained.
It wasn't a surprise to you that you were required to sign this card, was it?
No, I knew that I was going to be doing that.
Now, you testified that Fred brought you the paperwork. Is that correct?
Definitely. He was working to prepare some paperwork. He brought it over to my desk for signature.
Did he remain there waiting for your signature, or how did that actually happen?
No, he left the paperwork for me in my office, and it had a note to sign it and return it back to him when I was finished.
Was the note signed?
You mean handwritten?
I mean, was it signed with a name for who authored the note?
Not that I remember. I completed the paperwork and put it in his mailbox.
How did you know who to return it to if the note wasn't signed?
I recognized his handwriting.
Do you have anything to do with the assignment of workers?
Not really.
Who decides the schedule of employees?
That would be Jim Smith.
With that last name, I assume he is related to Bob Smith.
They are brothers.
Has he been working there longer than you have?
Absolutely. He started there probably 10 years before I did.
How long was the company been in existence?
Objection. Irrelevant and beyond the scope.
Sustained.
May I be heard sidebar?
All right. That's fine.